Hello, welcome back to Restorative Aroma Yoga, where we practice one restorative pose with one essential oil. Today our essential oil is the wonderful, woody, centering essential oil, Cypress. And our pose is supported boat pose. For the posture today, we'll need 2 bolsters, 3 blankets, possibly a block, a wall, and a mat in order to hold the props in place. This particular oil is used to help us tap into that essence of grief or contraction of the heart center, maybe associated with fear. This oil, along with the 2 aroma points or acupoints that we're going to use today, will help us to tap into that place and space to allow us to gain more comfort with the life cycle, especially associated with this time of year. At the time of this filming, it is the end of October, moving towards the elections of 2020. And certainly 2020, there have been many challenges, much upheaval. So much to be thinking about, so much that we could be putting into our bodies unintentionally. So we're going to use this oil in this time to help us to lean into that place and space to release and help us to feel more comfortable with the rebirth process that happens when we're able to gain comfort with that death and rebirth cycle. Today's points that we'll be using Cypress on are lung 7 and kidney 7. Lung 7 is on the thumb side of the wrist. So that point is if we're shaking our own hand. So thumb to thumb, the index finger, where the index finger lands, there's a space in between bone and tendon. You'll feel a sinking in point there. And that point will be on each side of the wrist. The second point we're working with is kidney 7. It's about 2 inches above the ankle bone. I'm going to go about 2 inches above, and we'll feel a sinking in point there, above the Achilles tendon. Then I'm going to take this essential oil and I'm going to apply it to both points. I'm going to take a drop or 2 on each finger. One finger, share it with the other finger. And I'm going to start with the kidney 7 point. So again, the ankle bone. Above the ankle bone, about 2 inches. And you'll feel a depression there above the Achilles tendon. So I'm going to hold there on each side, finding that approximate point on each side. Remember to hold the oil. No need to press or push, just a holding. You can hold anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes. You may close your eyes, start to tune into the oil, that point. This particular point of kidney 7 is resonant with the Chinese medicine element of metal. Metal is the element of the fall. And once you're finished, feel free to rub that into your hands, take a nice inhalation, and then we'll move on to the point of lung 7. This particular point we're using to transform melancholy and grief. So I'm going to try applying now with both fingers again. So I'm going to come in like I'm shaking my own hand, coming down that point on each side. You might be able to treat each side at the same time, or you can do one point at a time. And closing your eyes, this is your time to feel into this essence of life, death, life, letting go of grief, fear. Again, lung 7 along the lung meridian, helping us to transform grief and melancholy. Now moving into our pose. I already created the setup, but I'll review it with you. I have 2 bolsters. Notice that they're stacked just a little bit, not quite on top of each other. The top bolster is supported by a block, just so the top bolster doesn't roll off. Then there's a rolled blanket on top or a folded blanket on top. This will receive the head and neck. We'll be propping our feet up against the wall in a supported boat pose position. The blankets here, I've got one at an angle on this side and one at an angle on the other side, are there to receive the arms should we want to prop them open. So I'm going to come into the pose by bringing the sacrum all the way up to the first bolster. I'm going to start to lean back into the second bolster and pull that bolster up right behind the shoulder blades. Then as I lean back more completely, I'm going to take the top blanket, pull it up underneath head and neck. Placing the ankles or the heels on the wall, legs will relax, feet will relax. I'm going to sweep my arms overhead just to lengthen the side body before I go into the position of actually resting in this position. Once I feel that length on the side body and relaxation, letting that sacrum sink completely to the floor along with the tailbone, you can rest the arms on top of the folded blankets, palms and fingers soft. Or if that is too much strain on the shoulders, you can interlace the fingers and place them across the solar plexus and just let the elbows hang down to the sides. Notice here in this shape, as you start to settle in, you feel a vibrancy in the chest, allowing that opportunity to work with the lung meridian, where we've placed the oil on lung 7, releasing grief and melancholy, fear. Soften the jaw so that the lower jaw drops away from the upper jaw. Tongue is soft too. And allow the breath to slowly deepen. Notice how as you start to relax in the pose, find the level of the breath in the lungs. Maybe when you first start to settle into the pose, you may feel the breath coming down to the throat, maybe upper chest. Notice if you can start to deepen that breath so it starts to come down into mid-chest. And with each breath, just bringing it a little bit lower and deeper into the lungs. You can stay in this pose anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. I would say the trickiest part of the pose is figuring out what distance to set the bolsters from the wall. That will depend on the length in your hamstrings. Classically, the pose is done with the feet slightly above the head. Again, resting here anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. Enjoying that sweet, centering, pungent smell of cypress. Thank you for joining me today and experiencing restorative aroma yoga, integrating supported boat pose, with Cypress. Have a wonderful day.